Hi there, everybody. It's Lynn Cox here, Rapid Transformational Therapist, clinical hypnotherapist, and stress and performance expert. I wanted to hop on today. It's very chilly here in Calgary, Alberta, so it's kind of nice to be home studying something. So I posted earlier, I've been posting a little bit because I'm involved in a training with Grandmaster Mantak Chia, who is like the preeminent guy in terms of Qigong, Taoist philosophy Qigong. And, I am a clinical hypnotherapist. I treat people with RTT. However, I do think that there is so much wisdom, knowledge, as well as practical practices that can be taken from the world of yoga, martial arts, and Qigong, in particular, that can help people with things like experiences of stress, anxiety, and other physical ailments. So I've been all weekend. Grandmaster Chia is actually teaching from his center in Thailand. I did consider trying to go there and learn in person. It didn't work out for these 2 weeks, but so this is where having access to online is really helpful. But the teachings are being just as effectively, I think, transmitted via remotely. And there are a few things that came up, a few things that I've noticed over this first weekend that I wanted to talk about. So Qigong, in the way that Master Chia teaches it, it's very simple and it has to do with a lot of subtle energies, and it's also greatly inwardly focused. So it is actually similar to hypnotherapy, RTT, these types of, we'll call them meditative practices. But Master Qigong talks about one exercise to do on a daily basis, which I think is really interesting. He learned it from his teacher. Now, he's almost 80 years old, has been teaching, I believe, for about 40 years all over the world. And I think he said he's maybe been sick a couple of times over the course of, since he's been practicing and teaching this really phenomenal healing modality, I'll call it. So he talks about, because Qigong has so much to do with our energy system and our nervous system, which also has to do with how we experience stress and anxiety, one of the exercises that he says is essential for every day, if you can do it. It doesn't take a lot of time, but I love this because it has both a very important physical component to it, as well as a mental and spiritual. So I'm just grabbing my coffee here. So the way he learned it was to sit on a chair, and he grew up a Christian because I believe his father might have been a minister or a missionary. So the way his teacher taught him is, as you're sitting down, you rock back and forth and you think about traveling up your spine. So from the lumbar area, where there are, 5 parts of the lumbar, 12 of the thoracic, and 7 of the cervical. And as you rock back and forth, you turn your eyes inwards and you count your blessings as you travel up the ladder. So what this does is it puts a focused attention, it calms the mind and calms the nervous system, and it puts a focused attention inward. But the fact that he talks about it as count your blessings, it's also implementing a practice of gratitude. You're counting your blessings as you travel up the spine. And he did say, even if people just adopted this one practice, which does not take a lot of time, it's extremely healthy for your mental health, your spiritual health, your physical health as well. So I loved that, the counting your blessings, rocking back and forth, and bringing attention as you travel up the spine. The second thing that I thought was really interesting about this training, and I just loved, is part of the training is an hour-long morning Qigong class. Now, Master Chia is not leading that himself. It's one of his, top students, top instructors. And he's a really interesting guy. He's very knowledgeable and really quite amazing at what he does. But in the first class that I did with him, they do a lot of organ massage, self-massage in the organs. And he said this thing, and it was quite funny the way he said it. He said, you know how babies always need to burp after they eat? They belch after they eat. And he said, adults need to do that too. And he said, you know why old people, he said this, I'm just using his words verbatim, and it was kind of funny the way he said it. He said, the reason why old people can tend to smell bad is because they're not releasing the toxic air. So that act of belching. So he went on to talk about how belching, sweating, releasing gas is necessary. We've got to release that toxic air that's inside to keep our organs and our chi, our energy, flowing and functioning well. So as he's leading the class and doing the massage, the aim is to relax all of those areas because we're so uptight, we're so tense, and that can really keep this toxic air just trapped inside of us. So he's doing these exercises and belching and making noises. And, it's quite funny to a Westerner who's not as experienced with these practices, but it does make sense. It also relates to RTT because we talk about this, feelings and emotions need to be recognized, acknowledged, felt in order to be released. And my teacher, Marissa Peer, and I can't remember if she coined this or not, or if it was somebody else who she learned from, but it basically says the emotions that are not felt will find other organs in the body to weep. So many of the issues people have are related to trapped emotions, are psychosomatic. A lot of issues that people have related to stress, anxiety, skin conditions, insomnia, lack of energy, sexual issues, lack of focus, general feelings of malaise and disinterest in life. So in the same way that Master Chia's teacher was saying, we have to be able to become relaxed and then to release and emit this toxic gas, toxic air. We need to do that with emotions. Emotions get stored in the body. There's so much scientific research about that. So I love that. And it was funny. And Rob, my partner, said that he could hear me downstairs doing the classes and sighing and yawning, crying, sweating, belching, farting. All of those things can release the toxic air in us to have our system, to have our organs functioning really well. The other thing his teacher did say, and I do truly believe this, and some people out there might take me to task on it, and I will admit I'm not a medical doctor, but he does say that disease does not happen from without us, it happens from within. So the whole kind of fundamental underlying principle is to take care of the terrain of your body, of your organs, of your energy, of your nervous system. If you have those areas taken good care of, if everything's flowing really well, if muscles are relaxed, if you're releasing toxic air, if you do these really simple exercises that can quite quickly generate a lot of energy, you have a very strong and resilient system, and will likely keep all of the cells in your body reproducing normally, keep your energy levels up, keep yourself healthy, happy. So I do ascribe to that philosophy. And I mean, Master Chia, I believe that he speaks honestly when he says at the age of nearly 80 years old, he's maybe been sick a couple of times in the past 40 years. The thing is how many people really take the time to turn inwards and to do these types of practices? The same goes with something like a Rapid Transformational Therapy session, and then listening to a recording for 21 days, if not longer. We live in a culture that's time-strapped. We live in a culture where we often look outward for people for answers, solutions, and quick fixes. And we have been given intelligent and very intelligently designed bodies And I think that practices like Qigong, these are ancient practices that have been proven, scientifically studied to help with people's emotional and physical health. I think one of the issues is people feeling like they have the time or the patience, and it does require a focused, calm mind to be able to do these practices. They're very subtle. It's not like hammering it out at a gym, getting a HIIT workout in, focusing on building muscles. It is very much a turning inwards and, tightening muscles, using breath, having very slow movements, and also using the power of visualization and focus as you're doing these things. I believe that can be very helpful. I fully plan on integrating some of these practices with clients once I get my certification. And then the last thing I will say about how he ends his morning Qigong classes, which I think we could all learn from, and I've touched on this concept before, is when we'd almost finished, he said, you notice how kids, when they're really happy, kids just like jump for joy? And he said, we stop behaving that way. We stop doing those things as we grow into adults. We do. We become so serious. People want to appear to be really sophisticated and intelligent. And there is something about just being joyful and doing things like jumping for joy. So he ended the class with saying, okay, bend down, touch the ground, reach up, jump, yay me, 3 times. And it was absolutely hilarious and fun. I felt really elated after I did it. Again, Rob could hear me doing it, and I came up. He was like, how was the class? I could hear a lot of stuff going on down there. And I was laughing and saying, I just think it's so simple. It's so wise. There's so much wisdom in how children are. They don't typically hold things in. We teach them to do that. They release toxic gas. They cry when they're upset. They jump for joy when they're happy. And it's only, within our culture and social norms that we kind of cover that up and cause all sorts of blocked energy and barriers to our happiness and to our really vital health. So that's just a little bit about the experience so far. This is just week 1. The content is so rich. I have to rewatch Master Chia's workshops because there's so much knowledge in there, so much ancient wisdom. And just doing these hour-long classes over the course of this weekend, I have felt my energy skyrocket, and I typically feel like I'm quite a high energy person with, health and wellness practices, martial arts, and yoga, and a lot of walking outside, etc. But I've noticed a marked increase just after these few days. So those are my thoughts I wanted to share. Remember to count your blessings. Remember that health is an inside job. Remember to release toxic air, toxic emotions, and jump for joy and be more like a child. Have a great day, everyone.